Welcome to the Nest Podcast, your weekly home for sports news, video game reviews, and hot takes with your hosts, Brandon, Zach, and Justin. Enjoy the show.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Nest Podcast. This is episode number 80, the Jerry Rice episode presented by Sportszilla. I'm your host, Brandon, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Zach. And Zach, what's up, man? We found out right before we came on that Justin's not going to be with us, so...
Yeah, we've been trading back and forth as to who can't make it.
Yeah, it's been funny. Ever since we changed the intro song to include 3 names, we've only had episodes with 2 people here. So
Yep.
Maybe one of these days we'll get our shit together and get all 3 of us back on here ready to do the Nest Podcast. But it's us tonight, so we're going to steal the show and we're going to talk about what we like to talk about, and that is baseball, because baseball season, it's back. Officially, pitchers and catchers are already at spring training. Games start next weekend. This was the last weekend that we're going to have without baseball until November. So it's pretty good time to be a baseball fan right now.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And, we wanted to do a countdown to the regular season, so to say. And the way that we thought that we could do it the best would be to do a countdown, or not a countdown, but a breakdown of each division in baseball, and we wanted to start with the champs, and that is in the National League East. We've got the Washington Nationals coming off of their unthinkable World Series win. How do you think that they shape up in 2020 there, Zach?
I think they're going to do well again. It's going to be hard for them to repeat, but they're still a solid team. They've only really lost Anthony Rendon. They were able to keep Scherzer, which is a good thing for them. They've still got, Juan Soto and young guys. So it's going to be a little harder, but I expect them to be a relatively good team again.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with a couple of the guys that they still have. Soto, he's going to be a force for years to come. But their strengths really lie in their starting pitching. They've got Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin, a pretty decent 3-headed monster that if they make the playoffs, it makes them a dangerous team in the playoffs, because you put three of those guys out there in a best-of-5 series. I mean, you're looking pretty good with those. But I agree. I don't think that they have enough firepower. The loss of Rendon is significant.
Mm-hmm.
Because that dude led the team in RBIs and he led the team in batting average. And those are 2 key offensive components that you're just not going to be able to replace.
Right.
So for them, I see a slight regression. And I think they still possibly make a wild card spot. I think they might get in there on the same kind of momentum that they did this year and do well at the end of the season, make a surge, and then see where it all leads them. But I don't think that they have the firepower to be the team that walks away with the division.
Right. I agree.
The team that I do think will win the NL East for the 3rd year in a row is the Atlanta Braves. They've got big bats leading the way in Acuna, Albies, and Freddie Freeman. But their starting pitching is pretty damn good too. They've got that dude Soraka, I think is how they pronounce his name. He's pretty money. He's pretty much the ace of that staff. Fultonevich is pretty decent. They added Cole Hamels. They've got Max Fried. So they've got pretty good name pitchers on that staff as well. Maybe not the best pitching staff in the division, but I think those bats are going to win a lot of regular season games, and that's going to put them up there as being the National League champs yet again.
Yeah, they're definitely a bat heavy team, but like you said, they've added some good pitchers. They lost Dallas Keuchel, but I think they've made up for it a little bit.
Yeah, I do too. I think Keuchel, he was just brought in to kind of be a piece to push him over the edge, and it never really materialized into much of anything. So it was easy to move on from him. The big blow to the Braves in the offseason was that they weren't able to re-sign Josh Donaldson, and that's a big bat that they're not going to have going forward.
Right. Yeah, it seems like they I don't know whether they picked or if it was just chosen for them because the money matched up, but they basically got Marcell Ozuna and had to give up Josh Donaldson. So that team is very stacked anyway, and it was going to be hard for them to keep their roster exactly the way it is. So I don't know. I think they kind of I think Ozuna was overpaid because he's basically just a pure bat. He's not a very good outfielder. And Josh Donaldson, I would say, is a much better all-around player than Ozuna.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Donaldson's just a much better player. I mean, he's a former MVP of the league, and he's going to be the guy that just constantly is hitting dingers.
Yeah.
And Ozuna, for what it's worth, yeah, he can hit some long balls here and there, but we've seen it time and time again in St. Louis that he is not a good outfielder. And if you become a defensive liability, then your bat suddenly isn't as good as it once was.
Yeah. I think for his career, Ozuna should go. Well, I guess he wouldn't have to go anywhere here soon, but he needs to be a DH. That's where he fits in. He gets you about homers a year, has a relatively decent batting average, and he's basically just a slugger, and he can't hardly do anything on the field. So DH is where he needs to be. And if it does come to fruition and the National League does pick that up, then he'll be fine. And I'm sure that's where they'll slot him.
Yeah, and the rumors going around, and we're going to talk more about the rules changes that are official coming for 2020, but we do know that there are some rumors floating around about some other rules changes, most notably the DH for the National League that could come as soon as 2021. And we'll talk about more of that a little bit later on and how it impacts the game. But are you saying the Braves probably the champs again this year, the favorite to repeat?
For me, it's either them or the Mets.
Okay. And that brings me into who I think is going to be third in the NL East, and that's the Mets. I don't think they have the offensive firepower to really be able to keep up, even though their pitching staff is phenomenal.
Yeah.
1 through 4, they're probably the best in baseball.
They're basically the exact opposite of the Braves. They have all the pitchers, starting pitchers more specifically, but they're lacking in the bats. Of course, they've got big old Pete Alonso, but that's not really enough. And that's what I said. Either the pitchers are going to carry them all the way, and they're going to do just enough to win games, and that'll be enough to win the division, or the Braves are going to just start smacking them out of nowhere and go and run away with it. So,
yeah. You mentioned Pete Alonso. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep up with that pace that he started on his rookie campaign. 53 bombs in his rookie season is a lot. And coming up on a sophomore season, who knows if he's going to be able to replicate that. Judge wasn't able to do it in his second season after he hit over 50 bombs in his rookie year. So the tendency is for guys to fall off a little bit. We'll see if that happens with Alonso. If he can stay healthy and keep raking there, then him and Conforto, they'll have a nice little tandem of power hitters for a long time. But I don't see it being sustained. I think the Mets could sneak into a wild card spot, but it's going to take a lot for them to get there. I think there are a lot of other teams in the National League that have retooled and that are better suited for the season than the Mets are. But then again, I counted out the Nationals all the time last year, and they kept winning. And the Mets have the potential to do the same because they're not going to give up a lot of big run games because of that rotation that they have being so damn dominant.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, I mean, they have a like you said, one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball. I mean, Jacob deGrom is I believe multi Cy Young winner,
back to back. Yep.
Noah Syndergaard, another great one.
He would be the ace of a staff
Oh yeah,
if he wasn't on the same staff with DeGrom.
yeah. So that's literally two aces on one starting rotation. And I can't remember their third guy that's good.
Marcus Stroman, he grew up in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. Dude's nasty. He's got fastball changeup combo that he gets a lot of swinging strikes with. And then they just recently picked up Rick Porcello, another former Cy Young winner, in the offseason. So they picked him up from Boston in free agency. I'm telling you, man, the Mets, they have a nice squad if they could just figure out the offense. And
Right.
with their offseason drama with Carlos Beltran and all that deal that happened with him being hired as the manager and then fired as the manager and all that stuff, you know, at least they avoided a big scandal with the Mets, but it disrupted the organization. They also have, their whole franchise is for sale, and they had a potential owner, and then that deal went sour. I would love to hear from some Mets fans and hear what they think about all of that, because it sounds like it's a complete catastrophe, a complete mismanagement from the current owners. I believe it's the Cohens that currently own it, but yeah, it's crazy right now in New York, and it's a shame because they do have a pretty good team.
Yeah, and it's rare that we talk about the Mets this way. Normally, when you're talking about New York baseball, it's all Yankees. The Mets have never really made a stink, and now a relatively decent team, and they could be even better if they make some moves. But I mean, with all this drama going on, it's hard to say what's going to happen with that. I mean, when your owner is trying to sell the team, he's really not looking to make moves and sign people and do this and that. So that sucks for them.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that's ultimately why that deal fell apart, was because the new guy that was buying the team was upset that the old owners still wanted to have some kind of control or some sort of say in what happened with the Mets. And he was like, well, fuck no. Like, once I buy the team, it's my team. You're not touching it. I
Yeah,
don't want your paws all over it, you know? And I
yeah,
don't blame them. If I'm spending millions and millions of dollars on a team, you're not going to have your hands all over it. It's my team now, bitch.
yeah. I 100% agree. If you buy a used car, does that old owner get to tell you, no, you can't buy those wheels for that car. I don't like that.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely not. Fuck off. Um, Going down the list, I think another team that the NL East is pretty stacked. Let's be honest, and the fourth place team in the division, in my eyes, still has a shot at making the playoffs. That's how good this NL East is this year, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. They struggled a little bit clicking with all the new toys and pieces that they have. Bryce Harper, uh, JT Real Muto, and all that stuff. But now they've added yet another toy in Didi Gregorius, and I think that it's going to start clicking a little bit better. You got another year under your belt with all these guys, familiarity, the shock and awe of the Bryce Harper deal and all that stuff is gone. Now you can get down to baseball. And I think this year the Phillies could make a little bit of a run, but I think they're still going to be short because they don't have the dominant pitching staff that all the other teams in the NL East do have. They've got Aaron Nola, and he's great, but that's not going to do the trick.
Yeah, I agree. That's the only pitcher of theirs that I'm familiar with. So one starting pitcher isn't going to be enough to carry you all season. But like you said, I think the pickup of Didi Gregorius is great. Um, it's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say what they're going to be able to do this year. If they can click and if they can be on, then who knows what might happen. But they're going to have to score a lot because I don't think their pitching can hold off other teams from throwing it all over the field on them.
Right, and that's ultimately why I think they're not going to be the dominant force in that division. Is yeah, they have big bats, but there are going to be games when their big bats don't come up big enough, and their pitchers are giving up way too many runs and stuff like that.
Yep.
But they do have an outside shot of having a decent enough record to steal a wild card spot in the National League. So if Philly ends up surging late, then they could make a run at it. unlike the fifth team in this division who pretty much is at the basement before the season even starts, and that's the Miami Marlins. They're the only team that really didn't do anything to benefit themselves in the offseason in this division, and it's a shame. Um, you've got a Florida team in Miami, a big market, a big fan base that enjoys the sport of baseball, but yet the ownership group and the team just won't put anything together to put a winning product on the field. They trade off and sell off MVPs like it's fun. At one point they had Stanton and Christian Yelich on that team.
Crazy.
So that tells me that the Miami Marlins just don't want to win.
Yeah, which I don't understand. If you're an owner and you spend all that money, wouldn't you want a return on your investment? I don't understand those teams that just never do anything year after year. Just don't ever make any moves because, I mean, they've got as much money as any other team, and like you said, they have a big market. Think of the Cuban influence that they have in Miami, and a lot of players are Cuban or from that area of the world, and they love baseball.
Absolutely.
So you have a huge market that's just they don't have a team that they can be proud of, and it's just they're just a waste of a team, and it sucks.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, being that it's another Florida team that isn't doing so well, it makes me sad for the state of the game in Florida where I live. I go to minor league baseball games here in Jacksonville that are damn near sellouts all the time. Why can't the major league teams do anything? I tell you, it's probably because the owners aren't doing anything to entice the fans. I can't speak to Miami, but I know for Tampa, that stadium is terrible. The food court or the where you would go to get concessions or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing more than going to basically a high school football game. You get a hot dog or a burger, and that's about it. Maybe a slice of pizza. They don't have the fancy, like, nice establishments or the custom to this ballpark only type food or whatever. They don't go out of their way to make it nice. Whereas here in Jacksonville, the Jumbo Shrimp put on a hell of a fireworks show every Friday night home game that rivals the 4th of July. They've got special, dishes that are shrimp inspired because the team is the Jumbo Shrimp, and it just all flows together. They have fan events for the kids that makes the parents want to come out because their kids are going to get free face paint and balloons and stuff like that. Yeah, you can do the giveaways in Tampa for a free bobblehead, but not as many parents are going to be able to afford a $150 ticket for their kid to come and get a fucking bobblehead.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that's all the owner's fault. They're increasing ticket prices and stuff like that. And I mean, I know I got way off topic about the NL East, but that's one of the problems that faces baseball going into 2020. You've got attendance down league wide, and it's because you've got teams like the Miami Marlins, the Tampa Bay Rays, that don't really give a fuck about pumping up the attendance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you can see pictures online of like the attendance at Tampa games, and I'm sure Marlins games too, and it's just miserable. But like you said, why would you go out of your way and spend all that money to watch a team lose and to just deal with shitty concessions, shitty everything, and not get anything out of it? I get you can't expect your team to win every year and win every game and all that stuff, but at least make the experience fun. You know what I mean? If you get rained out or something, hey, at least we can grab a bite to eat. That's some good food or whatever. If you're not doing that, clearly people aren't going to show up. So it sucks. It sucks for, like you said, the state of Florida. If you're a baseball fan in Florida, man, you don't have much choices other than minor league baseball.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's fine for us. We enjoy going to the Jumbo Shrimp game. It's actually quite a bit of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I do know that MLB, specifically Rob Manfred, put out a new a presser or whatever that is
Yeah.
telling us that there are a bunch of new rules changes for the 2020 season. Zach, we've had a chance to sit and look at these rules and dissect them a little bit. What do you think about them?
Um, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the playoff. I don't know even know what to call it. The choosing your opponent type deal. I can't stand that at all. Um, like we mentioned earlier, the potential for the National League to get the designated hitter. I think that's well overdue. No one wants to see a pitcher strike out or ground out or whatever it might be. So I think that's a good step in the right direction. But the BS that he's suggested for the playoffs, I'm not a fan of. I'm also not really a fan of the 3 hitter minimum for pitchers now. That really negates the left-handed guy that you bring in to face a left-handed batter, and then once he's out or whatever happens, he's done. So I don't know. This doesn't help the sport of baseball at all. It doesn't make it any more exciting. It doesn't make fans want to come and watch. It doesn't make me want to watch it on TV anymore, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest problem for MLB right now. So I don't know what these changes are supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of expanding it from 10 teams to 14 teams that will excite 4 more fan bases around the league to have a team in contention at the end of the season. I understand the logic in that. I'm not necessarily opposed to that idea, although it does, having 14 teams makes it a little bit wonky in terms of the math on who gets a bye, who plays who, and all that stuff. So to counter that, they decided that they wanted to have this reality TV based show where the highest seed gets to pick who they play. Which, I mean, going into the 2019 playoffs, the Dodgers would have had the highest seed. Do you think that they would have tackled the National League East, or not the National League East, the Washington Nationals, the team that had the lowest record in the division? I don't think in a best of 5 series that I would have chosen the team that had Corbin, Scherzer, and Strasburg. I would have probably picked St. Louis or Atlanta. So it might have made a mega difference in the grand scheme of things. Who knows? But I don't know.
Yeah, just it goes against everything that sports are. Is you play as good as you can, you get a chance to go all the way to your championship, whatever it might be, and you play against the next best guy, whoever that might be. If you're not the top guy, well, I guess I guess in today's day and age, the seeds work where the best guy plays the worst guy. But then it trickles down to where you end up playing the best guy. And when you get to start choosing who you play, it brings a weird factor into it that I don't vibe with at all. It doesn't make any sense because, like you said, if you're going to pick the lowest seed team, in this case, they won the whole damn thing, so that didn't mean anything. So by that logic, you would have screwed yourself. You know, if things would have played out as they did in real life, you would have lost, and you would have gotten to pick whoever you played. And say you, like you said, pick St. Louis or whoever, you might beat that team. It's just it's a weird piece of the game that I've never seen it before, so I guess I don't know how it would work in real life, but I think it's weird.
Yeah, I'm not really too fond of it either. I guess we'll see what happens. You know, we have no choice but to sit around and wait for August and September to see all of this stuff actually materialize and see what happens from it. I just think it's another way for them to try to get TV ratings on a Sunday night, to try to get kind of like a NCAA March Madness Selection Sunday type vibe from it. and I don't know that I'll dig it, man. But making it into a reality show kind of feels like it's going down the wrong path for baseball, in my opinion. But
Yep.
changes to the game have been made in the past, and it's made improvements. Um, it went from 2 divisions to 3 and added a wild card team in 1995. So the wild card hasn't even been around that long. For the longest time, you just had 2 divisions in baseball, or for each league, and then those 4 teams made the playoffs, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Then they expanded to the wild card, and now they have 2 wild cards. Now they're going to have like what, 4 wild card teams coming up. So it definitely is another big expansion of the game, and previous ones concerning the wild card have actually worked out. So I don't know. I do want to see if it's going to work out. I know a lot of the players haven't been overly thrilled about it. Most notably, Trevor Bauer has had some things to say,
Yes, he has.
and it's been somewhat comical. In our group on Facebook, the Sportszilla group, I know that Ryan Schmidt has been up to date on a lot of this stuff, and he posted the first thing that I saw from Trevor Bauer, and it was his initial tweet, I guess,
Yeah.
that came out in the aftermath of Manfred dropping the report. And it says, no idea who made this new playoff format proposal, but Rob is responsible for releasing it. So I'll direct this to you, Rob Manfred. Your proposal is absurd for too many reasons to type on Twitter, and it proves you have absolutely no clue about baseball. You're a joke. I mean,
He's not wrong
he's
in my eyes.
and what he said there is, pretty to the point. You're a joke, but he went a step further and had an actual rant, because in that little statement, he said it's too much to express on Twitter. So what he did was he videoed himself talking about it and had about a 2-minute rant or so.
I've got it queued up if you want to roll it.
Yeah, go ahead and let's hear the words from Trevor Bauer himself.
Yep.
And on top of that, they can't even go to Twitter where all the young people hang out. You can't even go to social media and see anything about the game. Steph Curry throws a bounce pass in an NBA game, and it's trending with 1.5 million views 5 minutes later, and Mike Trout goes and launches himself and robs a homer or something, and you can't find the highlight anywhere online. It's ridiculous. You got BAM, that Baseball Advanced Media, that was designed to just centralize all MLB content and force people to pay to have access to it. Great, you made a lot of money up front, but you centralize all this content and you make people pay for it, and you know what you get? You get a missing generation of fans. You make some money up front, great, and you miss a generation of fans, and the game is losing popularity, and especially amongst young people. I mean, let's not even talk about like the shoes, the cleats. Oh, hey, Mike Clevenger, you can't wear those shoes that are colorful that everybody on Twitter likes because it violates our stupid cleat policy where you get 3 colors of cleats. Like, I mean, what does it even matter? Just let the players express themselves. Let it have some personality. You want to market the game? Don't change it. Don't make the mound 62 feet. Don't make playoffs where you have to pick your opponent and freaking whatever. Don't change the game. Market the players. You have more players in baseball than any other league with much more diverse backgrounds worldwide, more so than any of the other major American sports. And it's the least marketable because you make stupid decisions about how you market the players. You don't open it up. Let content go. Get it out there. Quit with this stupid cleat policy, the stupid BAM policy, blackouts all over the place. Like, and that's just dealing with content that we already have available. Like, where's the innovation in content? Like, where's the next thing that's going to draw fans in? Like, who's innovating? Who's creating something new? Who's trying to identify with the young fans?
That's it.
I mean, he laid it all out there, and it's cool to see real players speaking their minds to this, because this is an issue. The younger generation is getting snubbed because of paywalls put up by MLB. You know, I didn't even really think about it. I've been a subscriber to MLB TV now for about 6 or 7 years. So I've been paying to watch baseball for that long. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people don't care about baseball that much that they would pay to see their teams if they don't live in that market. You live in St. Louis, so you can see the St. Louis games. Did you know that in Los Angeles you have to pay extra if you want to watch the Angels or the Dodgers? It just doesn't come on your TV package. That's an extra service that you have to pay for. That's horseshit. Why is that a thing? Why can't they watch it if they live in Los Angeles or in Southern California in general? Baseball shouldn't be that difficult for people to see. He talked about how baseball is the most diverse sport out there. Hello, if you look at up and down these rosters, you've got Cubans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, you've got Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, you name it. They're from all over the world, players.
Tons of them too. Think of all the stars, all-stars that make the all-star team that are good players that people know. There's tons of them. Like you said, baseball has more players than any other league, and they can't market them for shit. Pat Mahomes didn't even win a Super Bowl, and he was all over every fucking commercial we ever saw. Same with Baker Mayfield. He hasn't even had a playoff game yet, and he's all over the place.
Yeah, the NFL, NBA, those organizations market their players. They know what they've got. MLB, they really don't. And, I never thought of it like he said, it's all hidden behind paywalls. Yeah, they made a lot of money, but they killed the sport of baseball in the process. It makes me think that Manfred might be one of the worst commissioners of all time.
Yep, I 100% agree. I think the MLB TV thing, like you subscribe to, I think they're really missing out by doing blackouts on that, especially in this day and age, because like say I live in St. Louis, right? Which means I can get the games on Fox Sports Midwest. So if I have cable, I can watch the St. Louis baseball games. A lot of people don't have cable these days, and they're just going streaming services and stuff like that. And some streaming like YouTube TV, you can get all the sports channels and stuff like that. So you'll be good. But if you want to try to buy MLB TV and watch your local sports, they're blacked out on MLB TV because they're available locally. So that screws anyone that doesn't want cable but also wants to watch baseball, and they'd be willing to subscribe to MLB TV, but they can't watch their local team. That's another one that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, MLB TV is only good if you live thousands of miles away from your favorite team. I'm a Red Sox fan and live in Florida. It's perfect for me. Zach doesn't find it useful at all because all of his games are blacked out because he lives in the coverage zone. Yep. So it is wild to think about that. That's the options that we have as baseball fans. Pay money to watch your team or not at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And the only like nationally televised games, and it's on ESPN, so even not everyone will watch it, but it's Sunday Night Baseball, and that's on ESPN, so you either have to have some sort of ESPN subscription or cable to watch it. Football, you can have rabbit ears and watch football on Sunday.
Yeah, you can find football any way you want to. And, like Trevor Bauer said, Steph Curry makes a bounce pass and it's trending with 1.5 million views on Twitter.
Yep.
I mean, we just saw the NBA All-Star game and all that stuff. I saw on my Twitter seconds after, what was his name? Aaron Jones?
Aaron
Gordon. After he got, I guess, screwed out of the dunk contest.
Yep.
Twitter erupted and I knew all about it. I saw all the dunks seconds later. MLB, something happens. People are just finding out that Pete Alonso won the home run derby. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I was thinking that to myself the other day when the All-Star game was going on. I didn't watch a single second of the NBA All-Star Weekend. I didn't watch dunk contest, nothing. But I basically know everything that happened because of social media. Do you
Yeah.
think that's the case for MLB All-Star Weekend?
No. And part of it is because a lot of people are apathetic about baseball. They don't really care. They don't follow it or whatever. I get that. But even people that are casual fans don't even follow them on social media. They don't keep up with the highlights. They don't participate in the conversations like they do for other sports, like they do for their footballs and basketballs and stuff. And I think it's just because baseball doesn't have that it's not connecting with the people. It's not got anything that resonates with the fan. They're not stepping out of their comfort zone to try to make it more appealing either.
Yeah, I totally agree. If I were an owner in the MLB right now, I would be calling for Manfred to resign. Just strictly from me because he handled this whole Astros situation poorly, but he's also handling everything that's going on right now in terms of these new rules and trying to grow the sport. It's just all being handled so poorly that all that accumulated. For me, I would be like, get this guy out of here. He's not doing anything for the sport. He's making excuses for the Astros. He's letting them slide. And he's also missing an entire young generation of people who can find everything they want to on the internet but baseball. And if they can't find it, they're going to move on and they're not going to care about baseball. So you're going to lose even more fans than you already have as of yet.
Yep, I agree. And to that point, if I'm an owner in Major League Baseball right now, I'm not only demanding that Manfred step down or be fired from his position, because let's face it, the owners are the ones that are basically his boss. If they don't force him out or whatever, then I don't know what the rest of these owners are thinking. But if I'm an owner, that's the first thing that I'm pushing for. And number two that I'm pushing for is I'm pushing to have Jim Crane sell his organization. There is no reason that he should be left in charge of the Houston Astros after everything that's been coming out about the organization, about how the whole scheme, which they pointed fingers and tried to say was all Alex Cora's doing and that he was the mastermind behind it all. And then come to find out this was a scheme that was hatched by the front office in 2016 when Alex Cora still worked for ESPN, that someone in the front office came to Jeff Luhnow, the now fired general manager, who said that he had nothing to do with any of this and had no knowledge of any of this, showed him that they had developed the code breaker Excel spreadsheet hacking thing that they could use to decode the signs. This was back in 2016. What happened in 2017? The Astros went on to win 100+ games, win the World Series. Altuve won the MVP. It was hunky-dory in Houston. Everything was right, so they continued it. Alex Cora didn't like what was going on, so he left the 2017 World Series champions to go somewhere else, and then he got the finger pointed at him as saying he's the guy that started it all. He was the patsy. He was the guy that left town, so they thought that they could blame it all on him. Turns out it was more the front office, and a lot of the players are saying that it wasn't really Alex Cora that was pushing it. It was more Carlos Beltran. And we talked about him earlier when we were talking about the Mets, but this is now a more interesting saga because of Carlos. Carlos Beltran is a potential Hall of Fame player. At the time, a well-respected veteran in the Astros organization. So it's believable that if he would have said, this is what we're doing, the young guys that were in that organization would have said, okay, boss, let's do it. Because he's the veteran, he's the leader, he's the guy that's telling you what to do. If the baseball writers of America are keeping out guys like Bonds and Clemens on their steroid association and all that stuff, there's no way I can see them voting in Carlos Beltran at this point. This is going to cost him a chance at going into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can talk about players not being punished, but that's going to be a punishment that comes from this. And it's going to be the only one that you see that really affects a player, because everything else, as egregious as it's all been, it's all being swept under the rug.
It's so infuriating. As this has gone on, I've gotten angrier and angrier about it. Like initially I was like, wow, that's really bad for the sport that you have a champion that has cheated basically to win. And then I thought, well, they're going to hand down an unprecedented punishment. And that punishment turns out to be $5 million and a couple draft picks. And then they start letting the players and whoever else start talking. And Carlos Correa goes off on Cody Bellinger and says that Jose Altuve won fair and square and he never did this and never did that. And it makes my blood boil. Like, you're going to sit there with your championship and literally zero punishment and start talking shit about the guys who have called you out on your bullshit. You're that arrogant. I have no ties to the Houston Astros organization, so I could really care less what happens to them. But I don't think that they deserve to be a franchise anymore because they've handled this so poorly from the inside, let alone what MLB has done. If I were Astros fan, I would immediately find another team because there's no way I could root for these guys who are saying that they did this fair and square and then this and that and the other and just making up all these excuses. I can't stand it. And for their new manager to come out, Dusty Baker, to say that he's afraid of retaliation and this, that, and the other. You're goddamn right you're going to get some retaliation. The rest of the league is furious that you cheated to win a World Series. All these guys work day in and day out to win a World Series, and you got there by cheating. No shit, they're going to be pissed off. And the league hasn't taken care of them, so they're going to take care of it themselves.
Yeah, but now Manfred's come out and said that for anybody that retaliates and throws at them, they're going to get punishment. So that tells me that MLB is okay with you cheating to win a World Series, but it is not okay with you throwing at people that are known cheaters.
It's all so fucked.
I mean, and I'm not one to condone throwing at people. I don't want to see guys get hurt. I don't want to see, Altuve take one off the helmet or anything like that. But if he wears one on the ass, he deserves that. I
100% agree. I mean, they do that shit for less than that. They'll plunk a guy for sliding into their star first baseman or something like that and potentially hurting a guy. I mean, I get that they probably need to do something so that just the whole Astros team just doesn't get obliterated this year. But I don't know. I don't know what they could do. I agree. It's probably a little sketchy to just let them go haywire, but I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do because the whole league is basically against the Houston Astros, and they have all the right in the world to be as angry as they are. I mean, every player that's come out and said something about the Astros, Mike Trout has even said something now too. They all hit the nail on the head. They're all correct about it. This is bullshit, and this can't happen.
And being a Patriots fan, I know what it's like to cheer for a team that has an aura around them. And the Houston Astros are going to have this aura around them for years to come, because once the court of public opinion labels you a cheater or bad or whatever you want to call it, it sticks. It doesn't go away. So these Houston Astros will get booed for years around the league, even after they're no longer on this team. Guys like Springer and Altuve and Correa and Bregman, when they go on to play for the fucking Tigers or the Indians or the Reds, they're going to get booed by other teams all the time. Like, these guys are now baseball villains, and that's what it is. The most egregious of the apologies came from Jim Crane himself when, get this, he said that in his opinion, he didn't think that it changed the outcome of the game. Motherfucker, you won the World Series as a direct result of what you were doing. How did that not change the outcome of a game? It changed the outcome of many games. There's no way that you win without that.
The year before, they didn't make the playoffs. 2017, they win the World Series. That's pretty changing, I'd say.
To Zach's point, 2016 Astros, their final record was 84-78. They missed the playoffs. 2017 Astros finished 101-61. That's an outcome-changing event that happened. And that event was you were fucking cheating the whole time.
It's insane.
I don't see how he's allowed to still be an owner of a team. You know, like, to me, if you're okay with this, with the whole cheating and stealing signs and doing things that are blatantly illegal, it shows that you're a person of poor moral standards and that you're pretty much a shitty person. Do you remember when the Donald Sterling, former owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, was forced to sell his team? Do you remember why he was forced to sell his team?
He said the N-word or something like that.
Right. Some recordings were leaked of him saying some I guess racist stuff or whatever, basically showing that he was a shitty person and he was a person of low moral values.
Mm-hmm.
So if the NBA can kick somebody out and force them to sell based on the fact that they're a shitty person, why can't the MLB owners band together and force this guy to sell on the fact that he's a cheat and a shitty person?
Yeah.
It sounds like if I'm an owner, I don't want to be associated with people like that. I don't want them to think, well, all of us are trying to cheat to get ahead.
Right. I mean, and for the people that have said, sign stealing is this and that and the other. Sure. If you want to stand at second base and try to see what the catcher's laying down, by all means, go for it. But the buck stops at electronics. And that's where they cross the line, obviously. So there's really no excuse that I could hear that would allow me to just forget about this and we can just move on. Like you said, this whole team is going to be tainted forever. And I think the only saving grace we're going to have is they probably won't make it into the Hall of Fame. I think they're going to be allowed to play. They're going to play out their careers and they're going to go wherever they're going to go. But much like Barry Bonds and all those guys, on the back end of it is where they're going to get screwed.
Yeah, and I think that'll happen. A lot of these guys will miss out on votes to the Hall of Fame and all that stuff because of this. But they're still getting to play. They're still getting paid millions of dollars now. They still get to flash around that 2017 Houston Astros World Series ring. I don't know. And the thing that keeps me up most at night about all of this, it's not that they get to keep their ring, not that banner still waves there at Minute Maid Park. It's that in all of the apologies and all of the press conferences, anytime that they've mentioned anything about the buzzers, they all go to the rehearsed, scripted answer of Major League Baseball investigated and I stand by their report, or Major League Baseball investigated and did not mention anything about the findings of illegal buzzers. If you didn't do anything and you didn't do anything, when somebody asks you if you used a buzzer, why not just say no? I didn't use one. I didn't do it. Instead, they keep going back to this. Major League Baseball did their investigation, and I stand by what they found.
That's a lawyer answer.
That is a lawyer answer. That's like me going downstairs right now and finding out that the kids ate all the cookies in the cookie jar, and then them turning around and being like, Nabisco did an investigation and they have no idea what happened to those missing cookies.
Yep.
If you didn't eat the fucking cookie, then you're going to say, I didn't eat it. Mom ate it. Or I didn't eat it. Grayson ate it. Something like that. You're not going to sit there and say, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. No, that makes you look guilty, and that makes it look far more terrible than what it actually is. It makes them look like they're still hiding shit.
Yep. Speaking of the buzzer thing, if in fact Major League Baseball did investigate and found nothing wrong, they obviously don't have access to YouTube, because there's several channels that have covered the buzzers and shown video evidence of it's not 100% solid, but it's fishy. And I mean, it's all over the internet. How could these guys not see what's going on? When you clinch your team going to the World Series and the first thing you say is, don't rip my jersey off, and you claim that you're a shy guy, it's a giant red flag. There's no way they did a proper investigation. They must have just BS'd it.
And, one of the things, I think it was Correa that was saying this, he said that he understands why Jose wouldn't want his shirt ripped off, and commented that Jose Altuve had some really terrible tattoos on his chest that he didn't want people to see. Like, I guess he had gotten a bad tattoo ahead of the 2017 ahead of the 2019 World Series, that he had gotten some bad tattoos or whatever. But then a photo surfaced in February of 2020 of Jose Altuve without a shirt on, and guess what? No tattoos.
I bet he looked pretty good without a shirt on.
I mean, no reason to be shy, but that just further makes the Astros organization look like a pack of liars if they're just going to continue to try to cover this up long after the fact. It's like, dude, we already know.
Yep.
Just come clean with it, but they're not going to. Anyway, I'm done talking about the fucking Astros. But I did wear my brand new orange MLB money shirt tonight because that is the Astros. They did create a shit show in Major League Baseball. So I designed this shirt with the help of Wallow. He threw in some ideas on this one as well. But it prompted another idea that we're actually going to start doing, and that's going to be a shirt of the month for the Nest podcast. I'm going to try to put out a brand new shirt every month. It'll be limited to just that month, so you have to get it while it's hot. And we make a little bit of money on these shirt sales, but what we want to do is take all the proceeds from the shirt of the month and roll that into, I guess, like a giveaway fund. Mm-hmm. And we'll take that money at the end of the year and buy an autographed something or another, or, we'll find something cool to give away as a gift out of these t-shirt of the month funds. So we're going to make every shirt's going to only cost about $20. There's going to be various promo codes and discounts rolled out here and there as well. So you can try to get like 15% off, free shipping, different shit like that here and there. But if you like a shirt, grab it, because it's only going to be out for a limited time, and it's only going to go to make the gift for our giveaway contest at the end of the year that much sweeter. So it's kind of like whenever everybody at the office chips in on lottery tickets, and then you get to cash out at the end of the year or whatever.
Yep.
Kind of the same deal, except you also get a cool shirt every month coming at you. So
yeah, that one's perfectly fitting for this whole situation. It is a fucking shit show.
It is. And, I really enjoy this shirt. I like it a lot. It's one that I think I'm going to wear quite a bit, because this season is off to a crazy start and it hasn't even officially gotten underway yet. We're yet to see games happen, and baseball's already stolen the national conversation for weeks now, and it's pretty awesome.
Yep, for sure.
I'm not stoked that the controversies are still floating around and that the investigation into the Red Sox still hasn't been resolved. They're now saying that it should be resolved by the end of February, which gives them about another week and a half, 2 weeks to get it all done. But I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to find anything on the Red Sox.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're good.
I'm pretty sure that Alex Cora didn't bring any sign stealing scandal to Boston, and everything was pretty much just tied up down in Houston with the Astros. And I'm fully expecting the Red Sox to be exonerated of all this, and for all the people that have been talking about the Red Sox as cheaters like the Astros, they'll finally have to shut up, because it's not going to be revealed that they were caught up in anything. And I think that's clear in the fact that all of the Red Sox players are starting to come out and be like, yeah, they're not finding shit. They're not going to find shit because we didn't do anything.
Yep, I agree.
Like, they're not afraid to come out and say, no, we didn't do it. They're not saying, we're waiting on MLB to complete their investigation. They're confident, unlike the Houston Astros.
Yep, I 100% agree.
Yeah. So that's all I got to say about that. Next week, we'll talk about the AL West. I'm excited to talk about how we think they're going to shape up because of everything that happened in Houston. I think it could turn that division on its head, and I think it's ripe for the picking for some of the other teams out there. So tune in next week and listen to our thoughts and our ramblings about the American League West as we continue our journey through all of the divisions of baseball in the spring training. And next week, we'll get to talk about some actual spring training baseball. Hopefully Justin will be back and we'll finally have the full trio on here, and we can update our listeners a little bit about what's been going on in the XFL. Mm-hmm. I know Justin said that he had some XFL stuff that he wanted to talk about tonight, but wasn't able to make it. So maybe next week we'll have even more XFL to talk about. Did you catch any of that this weekend, Zach?
No, I kind of kept up with scores and I saw a little bit of highlights, but it didn't make as big of a blast as it did last week. Of course, usually the people tune in to see what it's all about, and then it kind of just peters out a little bit, which may or may not happen with this league as a whole. So we'll just have to see as the time goes on.
Yeah, I watched a little bit here and there. I had my parents in town this weekend, so I was busy, entertaining them. And then plus we also had my son's birthday party this weekend. So, but I did get to watch a little bit of the DC Defenders game, and they shut out their opponents. So that looks like a pretty dominant team. Justin said that was going to be the team that he rolled with after week one, and so far they're pretty awesome. Houston, the team that I said was one of the better teams in the league, they beat the Battlehawks this week. So
yeah.
So St. Louis is now 1-1. I don't know, man. They don't look like they're a juggernaut team, but they're not terrible either. They're just kind of a middle of the road team.
I agree. Yeah, I think the Defenders and the Roughnecks look like, at least for now, that they're definitely the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's way too early to tell, and there are a million things that could possibly happen, but that could be the early favorites for the XFL championship game. So we'll keep all of our listeners tuned in and abreast on that situation. And then, of course, it's baseball season, so we're going to be full force into baseball for the next however many weeks, all the way through until November. And I'm stoked on it.
Yep.
Zach, you got anything else?
I'm good, man.
All right, guys, tune back in next Monday night when we'll be back live with another episode of the Nest podcast. And hopefully we can come up with some special episodes to have intermittently with some of our favorite returning guests. I know Garth is itching to get back on here, and we've got some other guests that we would love to have back. And then we also have some new guests that I would love to have on here to talk sports and various nerd things with us. So it's going to be a good year for us in 2020. And it's going to be a good year for baseball.
Yep.
See you guys next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening. New episodes are recorded every week.